Good morning, friends. When I was asked to write a sermon on leadership, I wholeheartedly and boldly accepted, but perhaps that was before I let the reality of writing and giving a sermon set in. At first, I imagined opening with sweeping platitudes about calling and responsibility and discernment, grand declarations of God's voice booming from the heavens, Moses descending with his tablets, Jesus calling out, "Follow me." But the longer I mulled over the idea of leadership, the more the truth settled in. Leadership isn't lofty. It's gritty, and it's hard work. And often it isn't fun or glorious. The truth is, leadership is hard, but not hard like climbing a mountain where you push yourself to get to the top, take a victorious selfie at the summit, and descend with stories to tell. No, leadership is hard like rivers are hard. Always moving, always changing, beautiful, yes, but also relentless, overwhelming, demanding, ever-flowing, unending, unpredictable. This river metaphor brings to mind the story of Siddhartha, who after years of wandering came to sit beside the river. There, in the silence, he listened, not just to the flowing water, but to the voices it carried. Laughter and joy, sorrow and pain, longing and love. In that moment, Siddhartha recognized the river as life itself, as always moving, embracing all that comes, interconnected and whole. Servant leadership, my friends, means becoming like that listening post by the river. It means attuning yourself to 1,000 voices. Is there a congregant in distress? Does the building need urgent repairs? Is there a conflict on the staff? A legal issue brewing? Who feels unseen? Who has quietly slipped through the cracks? These are not separate concerns. They are the river. They are our congregation. And my role as a servant leader is not to listen only to one voice, but to hold all of them, to hear the chorus. This is the model that Jesus offers us again and again. Not a throne, but a towel. He kneels to wash feet. He miraculously provides food for the 5,000. He heals the sick and touches the untouchables. Jesus prays for his disciples, and finally, he sacrifices himself on the cross. Time and time again, he centers the marginalized. He listens, he speaks up, he makes room. Leadership, as Simon Sinek reminds us, is not about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in our charge. It's not about power or prestige. It's about community. A servant leader listens, cooperates, creates space. When I think of servant leadership and unity, I think, oddly enough, of geese. Yes, geese. Just like our very own beloved Roger and Rosie Goose and their tiny little goslings. Have you ever watched a flock of geese flying in their signature V formation? That formation is not just for efficiency. It's a structure built on trust and mutual care. The lead goose takes on the most wind resistance and uses the most energy. It's the hardest position. But geese don't leave one bird out in front forever. They communicate their needs through honking and visual cues, and they take turns. When the leader grows tired, it drops back and another moves forward. This is servant leadership. This is community. And this, my friends, is how we operate here at First Plymouth. As we approach the end of the fiscal year, leadership roles rotate. Committee chairs step down, council seats change. Some of us move into the lead position for a time, and others move back into support. This rhythm matters. It guards us against burnout, it protects us from letting one voice override the many, and it reminds us that leadership isn't a solo act, it's a shared calling. Because standing in the river is hard. There are swells and currents and sudden eddies. Times of flood and chaos. Some days it feels like we must know everything, solve everything, carry everything. Our compassion gets stretched, our patience thins, our energy depletes. We strive to know everything only to wish we knew less once again. So why lead at all? Why step into that river when you can stay warm and dry on the banks? Why should you, yes, all of you, take the helm? I've sat with that question, I've turned it over and over in my heart, and I've run it through my mind. The answer I keep coming back to is, because it matters. Because it matters. Especially now, especially in uncertain times, especially in moments of transition. Leadership matters not in some theoretical or noble way, but in the real, raw work of shaping our church and our world. It matters in the way we listen, the way we hold space, the way we step in with humility and care. Leadership, it turns out, is rarely about glory and almost never about power. It's about sitting with 1,000 voices, the angry ones, the grieving ones, the honking ones, the confused ones, the joyful ones, and hearing wholeness, not attaching your ego to just one voice. Because then the chaos becomes a chorus and the brokenness becomes beauty, not because everything is fixed, but because everything is held all at once. And when holding all the things all at once becomes too hard, when we have reached the end of our term, we must trust that there is another leader waiting to rotate in, to take the helm, to fly at the front of the V. And when that happens, it is all of our responsibility to trust that leader, to support that leader, to let them serve, and to let ourselves be led. So friends, if you are feeling tired, uncertain, or you're being asked to lead and your gut says, I don't know if I can, hear this. You are not called to be everything. You do not have to fly alone. You are simply called to show up, to listen by the river, to serve with humility, to hold complexity without being consumed by it, to point toward the sacred, even in the mess. So I invite you, when it is your turn, step in. When it is time for others to fall back, rise. Not because it's easy, but because it's holy. Amen.